6:51 to go here in the first, still no score. As the Generals, 3 plays, 2 passes and 1 run, and unable to really move the football. And then now we'll bring up 4th down for the Gophers. As Tamon Davis will go deep for the Generals. Head coach John Beck talked about Mr. Davis and talked about his capabilities to be a difference maker and a playmaker. And he has his first opportunity here as he stands out in center field all to his lonesome. And it's a bad snap here. And the Gophers pounce on it. So ill-advised errors for the Gophers, and that is not what you want. If you're head coach Mike Melton. So the poor snap now puts the Generals in great field position as they look to get the first points of the game. We apologize for the technical difficulties there, but we are now up and running as the 2019 campaign kicks off. As head coach John Beck looking to get back to the playoffs and advance past the first round. Unfortunately, they were bounced last season against the Crusaders of Jesuit. But right now, the Generals are in great field position after an ill-advised snap. As Logan will go in the gun. And he will give it. Scampers up the middle. And Jackson Manfort will slip and fall as he had an angle there. And he tried to plant and get up north, but just a bit of a slip there. So that'll bring up 2nd down and 7. 5:59 to go here in the first. As Logan going. 2 receivers at the top, 2 at the bottom. Going, drops back, rolls near side, throws the ball downfield, and this one is caught. As Quinn Gerald, the 6'1 senior, hauls that one in. So now again, another 3rd down here for the Generals.
Goings pass complete to Gerald for positive yardage. 3rd down.
As Goings trying to lead this team, trying to bring a 7th state title, a 26 PIL championship. Last year they shared it with the Cardinals of Lincoln. As a man in motion going, will give it far side. Jackson Manfort trying to get to the edge and cannot. And he will be brought down short of the goal line, and that'll bring up 4th down. So now we're going to see here what John Beck is going to do. Is he going to kick the field goal, or is he going to say, guys, let's go get 6 points on the board? And it looks as though John Beck's going to say, boys, let's go for this. Let's get some points on the board here. 4:38 to go. As Goings will send 2 receivers to the bottom, 1 at the top. As the big fellas up front, got to protect Goings. And he will give it up the middle to Jay-Sean Pete, and he is short of the goal line. But that will bring up a 1st and goal as the Generals looking for their first touchdown of the 2019 season. As John Beck saying, all right, fellas, it's all about you boys up front, the big fellas getting a little pub. As Goings will keep it himself, dives to the goal line, and unfortunately he is stopped just short of the goal line. Good stand there. As Dylan Elgin, the outside linebacker for the Gophers, steps his way up, sticks his nose in there, and pushes Goings back to bring it 2nd and goal. With 3:51 to go here. So as the sun sets, and it's the cheerleaders of Grant and the cheerleaders of the Gophers rooting on their young men as the Mount Hood comes into the PIL. Goings rolls out near side looking for his man, and it is a touchdown. Touchdown, Grant Generals. As Peter Zahari, the 6'1 senior, finds the open zone and hauls that one in. And that is a happy young man and a happy mother and father, I'm sure, as the young man gets into the end zone to bring it 6-0. As the Generals score first. 2 possessions, 1 score. Certainly can't frown at that there, head coach John Beck.
Go on for the extra point attempt for Grant.
Has 3:21 to go here. As looking to make it 7. Marco Vlasco, good snap, good hold, kick is up, it looks good, and it is good. So after the poor snap there by the Gophers, the Generals had great field position, and they capitalize on it as they get the first points of the season. As we have 3:09 left here to go in the first. Well, don't go anywhere. You're watching live coverage of Grant General Football, powered by Table Rock Sports.
I was talking to Bill.
Yeah?
Bill and Sherry got a guy.
They do? How did they get a guy?
Everything happened online, including financing. And their guy even delivered their new car to their home.
Maybe we should get a guy.
I thought you might say that. Honey, meet Kyle.
Find your guy during the Ram Power Days going on now at Lithia Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Medford and on lithiasuperstore.com. Not a dealership, a partnership.
This year, don't just replace your windows, renew them with beautiful and energy-efficient windows from Bill's Glass. Having new windows installed by Bill's Glass dramatically update and improves the look of your home and helps reduce energy bills year-round. Let Bill's Glass show you.
Welcome back to the broadcast here. Brian Gregg on the call. The Generals on the board first. As the Gophers with an excellent return is Samuel Eaglebawam. Scampers all the way down to the 40-yard line. Penalty flag on the play. So the Generals get on the board first. Goings, great job on the rollout and finds his big tight end.
Gresham. First down, Gophers.
Finds his big tight end, Peter Zahari. As Mr. Zahari finds the open zone, sneaks his way in there, and Goings finds him to make it a 7-0 football game. 2:50 to go here in the first. We're live at the Marshall campus, and nothing's better than having football in the fall. As the fans start to trickle their way in here, as the Gophers looking to respond, and that pass will be incomplete, as it was intended for
Intended for Clark on the play from Reagan.
Quentin Clark, a 5'9 junior. Unable to haul that one in. Quarterback for the Gophers, Michael Reagan, a 6'4 senior, big kid. Looking to make his name for the Gresham Gophers. Gresham is no stranger to state championships. In fact, they won a state championship in 1982 as Gresham beat Lebanon in 13-12 at Civic Stadium. Last year, unfortunately, the Gophers didn't have the season that they were looking for, as they found themselves 3-6 last year. So they're looking to turn that one around, but they find themselves in a bit of a hole. Already down 7 here in the first. But nice job there picking up the first down.
First down, Gresham. Ball on their own 32-yard line.
First down and 10, ball on the 32. As the Gophers doing a nice job there, as Michael Reagan keeps that one himself to the near side in the read option. And he picks up about 5 to bring up 2nd and 5.
Second down.
1:14 to go here. As the Gophers in their traditional silver lids. As we go under 1 minute here in the first. Reagan pitches to his man Ethan Hempstead, and he scampers down the right-hand side, follows his blockers, and he will pick up another first down as he is just short of the midfield line. So good run there by Homestead to follow his blockers, be patient. And that will move the chains with 51 seconds to go here in the first period. Gresham Gophers are coached by Mike Melton. The Gophers come out of the Mount Hood Conference, a very competitive conference. Many great teams have come out of there. As Reagan will keep this one, scamper to the right-hand side and cross midfield and pick up about 6 as that clock will continue to run. As we hit the 30-second mark here in the first. At the end of the first quarter, we'll
Grant 7, Gresham 0.
I was talking to Bill.
Yeah,
Bill and Sherry got a guy.
they do. How did they get a guy?
Everything happened online, including financing. And their guy even delivered their new car to their home.
Maybe we should get a guy.
I thought you might say that. Honey, meet Kyle.
Find your guy during the Ram Power Days going on now at Lithia Chrysler Jeep Dodge of Medford and on lithiasuperstore.com. Not a dealership, a part.
welcome back to the broadcast here. Brian Gregg on the call. Brody the man behind the lens. Doing it all for you as the Generals score first. But the Gophers looking to respond as the Generals doing a nice job there as they swarm into the football, as so many coaches talk about.
Reagan's pass is incomplete, intended for Hempstead. Fourth down, Gophers.
So after the nice stand there by the Generals, the Gophers will be forced to punt. Last time they had to punt, the communication between the deep snapper and the punter did not work out in their favor, and the Generals took advantage of it and got the first points on the board at 3:09 here in the first quarter. Let's see if they can do a better job of getting the deep snap. This time it's a good snap. And this one is a very high punt, not very deep. As Brayton Scott will kick this one out of bounds. And that's where the Generals will take over. 10:50 to go here in the second period. As Goings found Zahar in the first quarter at the 3:09 mark. As the fans start to trickle their way in here, the weather here today a little chilly once the sun starts to go down, but that wouldn't be fall football if it wasn't a little bit of brisk in the air. As the Generals looking to add to their point total. As Goings will send 2 receivers to the top, 2 at the bottom. Man in motion, and he will give it. And he will give it to Jackson Manford up the middle, the 6'1 junior. And he will get back to about the original line of scrimmage. Might have lost about a yard there.
One on the play. Second down, Generals.
So second down and 11. for the young men in black and blue. As Goings in the gun, 2 at the top. Low snap, rolls out far side, pressure, throws the ball downfield, and this one is complete. Complete to Tymon Davis, the speedster. And he's all the way into Gophers territory. Great throw and pass by Goings. And the offense of John Beck continues to thrive after the great first down, as that will move the chains.
First and 10, Grant, ball on Gresham's 28-yard line.
Ball on the 28-yard line. As Goings again, man in motion, and he will give it off to his speedster, Luke McCullough. Breaks one tackle, now reverses field. Penalty flag on the play, and he will be forced out of bounds. And the initial sign looks to be a holding on the Generals. But nice job there by McCullough. Was wrapped up in the backfield, but used his athleticism to break out of that tackle. But unfortunately, the officials saw something that they didn't like, and the laundry found its way onto the field for the second penalty of the game for the Generals. And head coach John Beck continually talks about minimizing penalties, and nothing will kill a drive more than penalties. But in the event, Goings look at a 1st and 20 on the Gophers' 40-yard line. Goings, ball downfield, man is wide open down the left-hand side, and that is another touchdown. As Jackson Manfort scampers down the left-hand side, as the Generals score again. 3 possessions, 2 touchdowns, 13-0 score.
Vasco on for the extra point attempt for the Generals.
So after a great throw and catch, John Beck has got his team rolling. And rolling is what John Beck wanted to do. He wanted to start fast, and that's what they have done. They have started fast. 3 possessions, 2 touchdowns. That'll certainly get a team pretty excited as we have a bit of a delay on the field. As Marco Velasco looking for his second PAT of the game to make it a 14-0 score here in the second. Good snap, good hold, kick is up, looks good, and it is good. So after the 40-yard pass from Goings to Manfort, that puts it at 14-0. So the Generals in a commanding position as we head to a timeout. Don't go anywhere. You're watching live coverage of Grant football here at the Marshall campus, powered by Table Rock Sports.
Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution.
Welcome back to the broadcast here. Generals on top 14-0. So is the Generals. Doing a nice job continuing the prolific offense that John Beck is always known for.
First down, Gresham.
As the Gophers find themselves in a bit of a hole right now, as they got 80 yards to add 6 to the right side of their scoring column. As Michael Reagan here, once again the quarterback, the young man. As again the officials seem to be conversing back and forth. Might have been a clock issue there, and it seems that they got it resolved. In any event, Reagan under center. 2 receivers at the bottom. Single eye back. And he will give it to his big man there. Dive up the middle. And the Generals doing a nice job sniffing that one out, and that'll bring up 2nd down and 9.
No gain on the play.
This day and age, you really don't see a whole lot of eye-back, fullback dives much anymore, more or less a quarterback under center, but head coach Mike Melton continuing with a traditional style of offense, as many teams run the run-pass option, who was really orchestrated by Chip Kelly. The new offensive wrinkle is now the pass run option. So teams starting to throw a different wrinkle into it now. But in the event, Reagan back under center too. And he will drop back, roll over to the near side, and this one is complete. As he was looking for his man, Austin Pick. And that ball was bobbled around, and Jacob Dowden was there to retrieve it, so that'll bring up a 3rd and 6. With 8:01 here to go here in the second. So the Generals not only getting it done on offense, but making it quite challenging for the Gophers to move the football. So 2 receivers at the top, eye backs. And he will run a veer option to the far side. And he will pick up about a yard. And that'll bring up 4th and 5. So the Gophers forced to punt once again. So great job by the black and blue to force another punt here as the speedster. Tamon Davis, the 5'11 junior, will stand at his own 45-yard line. As that when Mr. Davis gets out in the open field, good things happen. As this time it's a good snap and a good punt, and Davis will signal for the fair catch. And that's where the Generals will take over. We'll take a quick timeout, but when we come back, the Generals will have the football and go for territory. You're watching live coverage of Grant General football, powered by Table Rock Sports. $14-0, 6:53 to go here in the second. as the Generals looking to add to their point total.
1st and 10 Generals following the
3
penalty at their
possessions,
own 40-yard
2
line.
touchdowns. Looking to make that 4 possessions and 3 touchdowns. But unfortunately, a personal foul penalty on the Generals there on the punt return pushed them back 15 yards as Goings will drop back and he will lose the football, but does a nice job picking it back up, and he will lose about 3 yards. And that'll bring up 2nd and 12
Fumble on the play,
for
recovered
John
by
Beck and the
Logan
Generals.
Going. Loss of 2 on the play. 2nd down.
Looking downfield, and this one will be incomplete as he was looking for his man, Devasier Stigler, the 5'10 junior,
Going
scampering
pass is
down the right.
incomplete. Bigham, the intended receiver on the play. 3rd down.
3rd down and 12. Third down and 12, and
Timeout charged
Grant
to
Generals will take a
Grant.
timeout. We'll take the timeout with them. 3rd down, 12. We'll be back.
Dear Dad, I was afraid to say this to your face, but I heard you yelling again from the stands during my game. You were shouting at the coach, the refs, even the other parents. It embarrasses me when you yell at everyone. It really stresses me out. I love sports. I love my team. I just want to play, but not if you always lose your temper. Love, Katie.
Know your role. Learn more at southernoregonsports.com.
There's a time machine, not so far away, that takes you back to a world just a few streets wide, where wonder rules the day and families are transformed, from the smallest bug-eyed explorer to that surliest know-it-all. So dive into the past and let them see the world through a simpler lens called
Welcome back to the broadcast. Apologize for some unfortunate technological errors, but we're back up and running here.
Going's pass is incomplete.
But in any event, John Beck found himself deep in his own territory, but they've been managed to march their way down the field with 1:22 to go here in the second period.
3rd and 1 for Grant.
Third down and 1. Goings gives it up the middle to his speedster. Scampers right-hand side. Jay-Sean Pete, 5'10 junior. Marches his way all the way down to the 10-yard line. And that'll be another first down, and the Generals knocking on the door again. Head coach John Beck would sure like to make this a 21-0 ball game before they find their way to intermission, but they're doing all the right things, and the Gophers having a hard time holding them as that clock continues to run. Just at 1 minute. Goings gives it left side, and they will not get anywhere on that one as Jay-Sean Pete unable to break that tackle. And that clock will run, and the Generals will take a quick timeout. We'll take a quick timeout with them. 53 seconds to go here in the second period. Don't go anywhere.
Dear Dad, I was afraid to say this to your face, but I heard you yelling again from the stands during my game. You were shouting at the coach, the refs, even the other parents. It embarrasses me when you yell at everyone. It really stresses me out. I love sports. I love my team. I just want to play, but not if you always lose your temper. Love, Katie.
Know your role. Learn more at southernoregonsports.com.
There's a time machine not so far away that takes you back to a world just a few streets wide, where wonder rules the day and families are transformed, from the smallest bug-eyed explorer to that surliest know-it-all. So dive into the past and let them see the world.
Welcome back to Marshall campus here. 53 seconds to go here in the second period. John Beck and Logan Going want to make it 21. Going drops back, pressure, looking for his man, and this one is incomplete. As Zahari was trying to add his second touchdown to the game, as he will make his way to the sideline as he comes up a bit limping on that play there. Good athletic play there by the young man.
Third down.
As that will bring 3rd and goal with 42 seconds to go here. 2 receivers at the top, 2 at the bottom. Goings again in the gun. Go for show blitz, drops back. Now he's got pressure, got to get rid of it, and he will be brought down behind the line of scrimmage as the Gophers showed pressure, and they got 2 Goings, and that'll force the Generals to have to call their second timeout of the contest. We'll take the timeout with them. 32 seconds to go here in the second. Can John Beck and the Generals make it 21? We'll find out. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go! At US Cellular, we heard you. You want a wireless plan that works for you. That's why we're giving you unlimited data for just $30 on a network ranked #1 in network quality performance. All that and no hidden fees. That's the best value in wireless. That work for you? US Cellular. Choose fair.
For the best deals in wireless on a network that works in the middle of anywhere, visit Siskiyou Cellular, your local US Cellular agent. 7 locations, including Central Point off Plaza Boulevard.
Doctors James Savage and Rajiv Rajagopal are happy to welcome Dr. Brian Clevenger to the Associates for Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery. Their offices in Medford, Grants Pass, and Klamath Falls practice a full scope of surgery.
4th and goal for Grant.
4th and goal here for the Grant Generals as head coach John Beck has decided to send out the field goal unit as Marco Vlasco looking at about a 39-yard field goal. The left footer, good snap, good hold, kick is up and is definitely long enough, and this one is good. So the big lefty from almost 40 yards out knocks it through, and that'll make it 17-0 with 26 ticks to go. We'll take another timeout. When we come back, the big Blasco will kick off to the Gophers. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go! At US Cellular, we heard you. You want a wireless plan that works for you. That's why we're giving you unlimited data for just $30 on a network ranked #1 in network quality performance. All that and no hidden fees. That's the best value in wireless. That work for you? US Cellular. Choose fair.
For the best deals in wireless on a network that works in the middle of anywhere, visit Siskiyou Cellular, your local US Cellular agent. 7 locations, including Central Point off Plaza Boulevard.
Doctors James Savage and Rajiv Rajagopal are happy to welcome Dr. Brian Clevenger to the Associates for Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery. Their offices in Medford, Grants Pass, and Klamath Falls practice a full scope of services, from corrective jaw surgery to wisdom teeth removal and much more. For more information or to schedule your complimentary dental implant consultation, call 541-779-3781.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Brian Gregg here, bringing you live coverage of Grant General football, powered by Table Rock Sports, as the Generals have themselves a commanding lead, 17-0, after the 41-yard field goal by the big lefty Blasco, and he knocks it through. And I think it's safe to say that he had about another 10 or 15 yards on that kick. So what a great weapon for John Beck and team, knowing that you got a field goal kicker that can step on out there and boot a big one.
First down, Gresham, ball
as the Gophers find themselves in a hole with 14 seconds to go here in the second quarter. At halftime, we'll provide our insights of the first quarter and try to find a member of the General family to see if we can get some thoughts from them. As the Gophers trying to march their way down the field, as Quentin Clark was the intended receiver but unable to haul that one in. Penalty flag on the field, as that'll be pass interference on the Generals, as that's their third penalty of the football game. Coach John Beck talked about how great his team had done leading all the way up to walkthroughs. And then yesterday, with the nerves and the jitters, they found themselves committing more penalties, which John Beck said, gentlemen, we got to minimize those. Practice is one thing, game is another. So that'll move the chains for the Gophers with 6 seconds left. I imagine this will be the last play of the first half, as the Gophers this time will just pitch it to the far side as Ethan Hempstead will get back to the initial line of scrimmage. And that will bring us to halftime. It's the Generals. 6 possessions, 17 points. John Beck has to be one happy coach. Don't go anywhere. You're watching live coverage of Grant General football, powered by Table Rock Sports.
Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution. Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution. Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution. Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution. Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you.
Welcome back to the Marshall campus and Grant High School, and head coach John Beck finds himself with a commanding lead, 17-0. And that's the way that you want to start out your inaugural football game for 2019. But this broadcast would not be possible without the good friends at Grant Football here. And I have the distinct pleasure to be joined by Carmen, who is I guess you can say the lady behind the scenes that makes everything happen here. So I wanted to make sure I had the opportunity, one, to say thank you to you, but also, give, your fans, the families, the parents, an opportunity to see the game. And Carmen, thank you so much for, bringing this all here. How much fun is it to be able not only put the game on the radio, but also make sure that the fans at home can see it here on the broadcast?
Well, boy, my sons played when they were in 2013, 2014. We didn't have anything like this. And so it's been a real wonderful opportunity to have families across the country be able to watch their kids and their grandkids play. And we've had quite a bit of traffic, so we're pretty pleased with what we've seen. Sure.
How did the Friends of Grant Football come about? Has it been around for a while, or was it just a group of parents that got together and said, let's go out and raise some money and let's make sure that we make these young men look good with jerseys and helmets and make sure the coaches got some swag? But talk about how that all came together.
Sure. Not a lot of people know this, but football players per player takes about $800 to $1,000 just to equip through their helmets, their equipment, coaching, all of the extras, and it's a lot of money. The kids only pay $200 per kid to play the sport of football. And so it came about where Boosters has been a big push in helping kids and families be able to afford the sport that is pretty expensive
Yes.
to play. And so we've tried to take the opportunity to use our community to help pay for it and whatnot. We've only been together for 2 years.
Sure.
And this is our second year. First year was kind of a learning curve. We kind of got a few fun experiences in there, but it was interesting that we were the only second out of the whole PIL to have a boosters just for football. All of the schools pretty much have a full-on boosters, but football alone, just the high costs, it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So a lot of the outer suburbs they all have them.
Sure.
So we were just like, we've got to do it.
How
lot of work.
How are the folks that are watching right now and listening? How can they get involved, Carmen, if they want to help support, maybe volunteer-wise or even financially, if they want to write a check?
Oh, great question. Yeah, we really want to try and steer away from asking all of our parents to
Sure.
contribute, because it is such an expensive cost and they're saving for colleges. So we'd like to ask our area businesses to step up and see what they can do for us. Or grandparents, people across the country that are watching, this is a great opportunity for us to continue the program and be able
Sure.
to show the games as we go. But if we could get just even people to tell us contact names that we can call onto businesses. All of these kids frequent many of the businesses, all of these families. And so if we can get them to get on board, see what it's like, see if we can make them some money, get our community behind them, I think we can get a lot of money that way.
Well, I'm very impressed by the commitment from everybody here. I look down here at the fans, and it's chilly out, but this doesn't stop fans and parents and grandparents, as you mentioned, brothers and sisters, from coming out here. How proud are you to see such a strong support network and such a strong fan base? Because a lot of schools don't have that opportunity, but you come out here and you can see that the people out here supporting their generals.
Yeah, and we don't have our own home field, so this is huge that people will drive across town to come and see a game that's not even at their own high school. So a lot of people don't know that, but we don't have lights on our field. It's considered the Grant Park in the park system, and so we don't get our own field, which is really hard for the community. At the same time, PIL is doing a great job trying to get that to happen, so we're hoping for it next year. But to see all of these people and all of these kids, they take the max out, takes them 20 minutes to half an hour to get here, then at night they have to go back that way. So it's just so heartwarming to see them support the boys.
Yeah.
It makes it way more exciting for sure.
Well, the commitment to athletics is so crucial, and just and you talk a little bit about it, just the financial cost, but it really takes a village to grow a sport, and it must bring you a lot of happiness to see the people, how generous they are when it comes to supporting football. How if somebody wants to get in contact with you, how would they go about doing that?
Great. Well, we have a wonderful website that all monies can go through that. It's friendsofgrantfootball.com, and there's a PayPal or Visa, whatever way you want to pay, link that you can easily give us tons and tons of money. The more the better. But we also would love to take any small donations that you'd be willing to give, because every little dollar goes a long way. We pay 100% goes into the program. There's no overhead costs going to facilities or parents or anybody running the program, administration. It all goes straight to the kids.
Well, Carmen, you're doing great work. And right now your team is in a good position on top, 17-0. So president of the Friends of Grant Football, Carmen, I didn't catch your last name.
Oh, it's Von Arks.
Carmen Von Arks, the president of Friends of Grant Football. So we'll take another timeout. We got about 4:30 to go before we'll kick off the second half, as head coach John Beck has his Generals on top, 17-0. You're watching live coverage of Grant football, powered by Table Rock Sports. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go! At US Cellular, we heard you. You want a wireless plan that works for you. That's why we're giving you unlimited data for just $30 on a network ranked #1 in network quality performance. All that and no hidden fees. That's the best value in wireless. That work for you? US Cellular. Choose fair.
For the best deals in wireless on a network that works in the middle of anywhere, visit Siskiyou Cellular, your local US Cellular agent. 7 locations, including Central Point off Plaza Boulevard.
Doctors James Savage and Rajiv Rajagopal are happy to welcome Dr. Brian Clevenger to the Associates for Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery. Their offices in Medford, Grants Pass, and Klamath Falls practice a full scope of services, from corrective jaw surgery to wisdom teeth removal and much more. For more information or to schedule your complimentary dental implant consultation, call 541-779-3781.
Let's go! At US Cellular, we heard you. You want a wireless plan that works for you. That's why we're giving you unlimited data for just $30 on a network ranked #1 in network quality performance. All that and no hidden fees. That's the best value in wireless. That work for you? US Cellular. Choose fair.
For the best deals in wireless on a network that works in the middle of anywhere, visit Siskiyou Cellular, your local US Cellular agent. 7 locations, including Central Point off Plaza Boulevard.
Doctors James Savage and Rajiv Rajagopal are happy to welcome Dr. Brian Clevenger to the Associates for Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery. Their offices in Medford, Grants Pass, and Klamath Falls practice a full scope of services from corrective jaw surgery to wisdom teeth removal and much more. For more information or to schedule your complimentary dental implant consultation, call 541-779-3781.
Welcome back to the Marshall campus here as head coach John Beck has his team on top. 17-0. Brian Gregg here on the call. Brody, the man behind the lens up there, doing all the great work there to bring you all the action. The Generals got off to a slow start there, but after the jitters calmed and the nerves minimized, Goings connected with Zahara for their first score of the game at the 3:09 mark. And then in the second period at 9:44 to go, Goings finds his man down the right-hand side as Jackson Monfort gets across the goal line to make it 13-0. PAT was good, made it 14-0. And then right before the half, Vlasco, the big left footer, hit a big field goal from 41 yards out with 26 seconds to go, and that's how we got 17-0. So a couple penalties there in the first half for the Generals. Other than that, it's been a pretty flawless football game as the Generals make their way back out onto the field here as they will kick off here in the second half. We had an opportunity to hear from Carmen, the president, Friends of Grant Football, and she talked a little bit about, not having their own field. And you look back at the history of the PIL, Grant opened in 1924 with roughly 1,200 students. At the time, many Portland public schools were being built between 1908 through about 1935 as Portland just continued to grow. During that time, many schools, as we know today, were built. In 2017, a $482 million bond passed in 2012, and they're looking to have their high school completed coming up here in the fall. As the high school, the interior of the building was completely gutted and completely rebuilt. The project includes 3 new 3-story common area, a new gymnasium, retrofitting, and many more classrooms. So these students have had to go to school elsewhere, but a school that's been around since 1924 certainly needs its updates. And as Portland continues to grow at a rapid pace, I imagine those schools will continue to increase in enrollment. So 2:40 to go before we're going to kick this one off here in the second half. But in any event, head coach John Beck's got his team in a good position here. We'll take another timeout. And after that, the Generals will be kicking off to the Gophers. You're watching live coverage of Grant General football powered by Tabor Rock Sports. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go! At US Cellular, we heard you. You want a wireless plan that works for you. That's why we're giving you unlimited data for just $30 on a network ranked #1 in network quality performance. All that and no hidden fees. That's the best value in wireless. That work for you? US Cellular. Choose fair.
For the best deals in wireless on a network that works in the middle of anywhere, visit Siskiyou Cellular, your local U.S. Cellular agent. 7 locations, including Central Point off Plaza Boulevard.
Doctors James Savage and Rajiv Rajagopal are happy to welcome Dr. Brian Clevenger to the Associates for Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery. Their offices in Medford, Grants Pass, and Klamath Falls practice a full scope of services, from corrective jaw surgery to wisdom teeth removal and much more. For more information or to schedule your complimentary dental implant consultation, call 541-779-3781.
For several weeks, the Southern Oregon Sports Commission has shown you examples of good sportsmanship and bad sportsmanship. Here's why. 75% of youth athletes quit sports by the age of 13 because they're not having fun. 75% of rookie referees also quit each year. Why? Well, it's because of the way they're treated by coaches and parents. We can do better. We must do better. Know your role. Learn more at southernoregonsports.com.
I'm Pat Cox with Sherm's Food Stores. The employees of Sherm's are proud to be part of your community.
We have thousands of customers in our stores every day, and our checkers know a lot of them on a first-name basis. They tend to enjoy what they do, and they love it, so it reflects in how they treat the customer.
If you live anywhere in Southern Oregon, there's a Sherm's store near you. We hope to see you soon.
If you shop with us, you will save money.
Welcome back to the broadcast here. Brian Gregg on the call. As John Beck, 5 possessions, 2 touchdowns and a field goal, and have done an excellent job holding the Gophers to minimal yardage. And like they like to continue to do that here in the second half, as they will kick this one off as the big lefty, Vlasco, had a huge field goal, 26 seconds to go there in the second period, knocking it out for 41 yards, and I think it was safe to say he had probably another 10 or 15 yards on that one. What a great weapon. So Vlasco will kick this one off as we start the second quarter. Good kick picked up by the Gophers, as Ethan Homestead will be the recipient, and he will be brought down at the 20-yard line, and that is where the Gophers will take over. Gresham High School opened in 2006. Their Lone State Championship came in 1982 as the Gophers beat Lebanon 13-12 at Civic Stadium. In fact, a interesting little tidbit about Gresham High School in 1977, they were the state champions in drag racing. Not too often you hear of a high school being a state champion in drag racing, so they can hold their banner high in the gymnasium with their drag racing. Last year they went 3-6. When these two teams tangled last year, Grant was victorious 17-7, as the Generals doing an excellent job there, sniffing out that run, and that'll bring it up second down and 13.
Short gain of 1.
So just underway here in the third period. Brian Gregg on the call. We had an opportunity there at halftime to hear from Carmen, friends of Grant football, and talked about the great support the businesses provide locally, as well as the great fan base out here. She talked about when you don't have a home field, you can get a little bit anxious that you don't have people come out to root on your home team, but boy, looking around here, you'd certainly assume this is a home environment based upon all of the fans and student body coming out to root on their Generals as they find themselves with a commanding lead, 17-0. Split backs as Reagan will drop back, and he will complete the pass back to the initial line of scrimmage, and that'll bring up third down and 10.
Pass is complete on the play.
So the pressure there by the Generals forced Reagan to have to get rid of that one pretty quickly. But the young men in the blue and black sniffed that one out. As the Gophers now looking at a third and a very long 9. As not only has the offense been extremely productive in this contest, but The defense has done a phenomenal job, as the Generals, I believe, have an injured player on the play here, and hopefully he's okay. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, the Gophers will look at a 3rd and 9. You're watching live coverage of Grant football, powered by Table Rock Sports.
Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller. Because at the end of the day,
3rd down and 9 here for the Gophers as Reagan drops back, pressure, and he will be sacked in the backfield as the blue and black marching their way through that offensive line, and he will be brought down. Penalty flag on the play.
Reagan sacked on the play.
As I believe that penalty will be committed against the Generals, and it looks as though it might be a horse collar, which would be an unfortunate penalty after the great blitz package. But the Generals just using one part of the jersey that is frowned upon, and I believe that that'll be an automatic 1st down for the Gophers. Excuse me, that'll make it a 4th down and 3. But head coach Mike Melton's going to leave his team on the field. That's Reagan under center, backs in the eye, and Mr. Melton is going to call a timeout. Well, I believe that the officials are going to have an exchange of conversation. I thought for some reason that it would be an automatic 1st down, but unfortunately my knowledge of the rule book wouldn't have passed this quiz. But Mr. Melton will keep his team onto the field in the I-back. Reagan under center. And he will give it off to his running back, and he will get close to the 1st down mark, and I believe that he got it. So Mike Melton telling his team, fellas, we got to get some points on the board. And with not too many possessions remaining here in the second half, that's a big 1st down there for the Gophers with 10:15 to go here in the 3rd period.
First and 10 Gophers, ball on their own 33.
So ball on the Gophers' 33-yard line as the clock ticks down. As Reagan under center, one receiver at the top, one at the bottom. I-backs gives it off to his running back. And the big fellow will scamper up the middle. As Austin Pick, the 6-foot senior, will pick up 7 yards. The big bruiser doing a nice job. With that inside trap, left guard comes over, kicks out the tackle, and he scampers his way for a nice pickup of 6 yards to bring up 2nd down and 4. 9:24 to go here in the 3rd period. The Gophers on top, 17-0. I-backs for Reagan, one at the top, and he will give it off to his running back. And the Generals doing a great job sniffing that one out, being disciplined, staying home, playing fundamental football. And that's exactly what they did there. Is John Beck always talks about the importance of pad level. And right there that they showed it to bring up a 3rd down and 4. So the Generals have an opportunity here to try to get this football back. But don't count out head coach Mike Melton. He has no problem going for it on a 4th down. Well, right now he's got a 3rd down and 4 at his own 40-yard line. Has Reagan, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. And he will give it off to his big fella up the middle. And he will pick up about a yard, maybe a yard and a half.
Austin Pick on the run for Gresham.
As Mike Melton's got to look at another 4th down and 3.
Bring up 4th down.
On the prior possession, the prior series, he told his team, we're going for it, fellas, but It was also 4th and 1. Here you're looking at a 4th and 3. And Mr. Melton's going to send out the punt squad. And that's going to send out Mr. Davis, the 5'11 junior, out to center field. And anytime that young man has some real estate, good things happen, as John Beck talked about in the pregame show. As this time it's a good punt. And Davis will have real estate. He's got numbers. Penalty flag on the play. Cuts back up the field. Second penalty flag. And he will scamper all the way to the midline. But I imagine that these penalty flags will be enforced against the Generals.
Penalty marker
So
on the field.
after a great return there by Mr. Davis, I believe they'll be negated by either a clip or a hold. And that is
against Grant.
And that will march them back. So penalties have been a bit of an Achilles heel here for the Generals. As John Beck always talks about the importance of minimizing penalties, playing disciplined football, but anytime you have an opportunity to add to your point total and you find yourself with yellow laundry on the field, it makes things a bit more difficult. 7:36 to go here in the third period. Generals still on top. Gophers really haven't had much offense this game.
10. Ball on their own 15.
But as Mr. Logan going is having himself a nice contest, as he will send 2 receivers to the top, 2 at the bottom. As he will continue to go into the gun. Drops back, looks for his man, caught. And it will be complete, and he will be pushed out of bounds.
Goins pass complete to Luke Orchard.
As that pass was completed to Luke Borchard, the 6'5 junior, hauls that one in for a nice pickup of 8 yards. And I believe we have a equipment issue, and unfortunately that will have to dismiss the young man for a play to have that issue resolved. So now John Beck knows that the second string for the Gophers will play the cornerback position. I wonder if he may take a shot here. As going will go into the gun, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. 4-3 defense shown by the Gophers. Going, drops back, ball down the middle of the field, and this one is almost intercepted. As I don't know if he saw Jacob Dowden coming across the middle there, but boy, he sure dodged the bullet on that one.
Third down.
And that'll bring up a 3rd down and 2, as that was really the first forced error there by Goins. Has pretty much played a flawless football game. A good break on the ball there by Mr. Down for the Gophers, but unable to hold on to that one. And that'll bring up 3rd down and 1. As the Generals deep in their own territory. Give it off to his back. Makes one move. Left-hand side, and he will pick up the first down as Jamison Price will scamper all the way down, and he will pick up a first down. Great football play there. Saw that there was not much of a hole there getting up to the line of scrimmage. Bounce it outside, and he picks up another first down for the Generals. Coach John Beck talked about he's got 4 or 5 workhorses back there that can do a lot of different things.
Grant ball on their own.
And every time you think you got one stop, another one comes in there. As Mr. Price takes advantage of the opportunity. As Goings gives it off to his running back this time.
Price the ball carrier for Grant.
As Mr. Price carries that one, and he will scamper his way all the way to the 35-yard line to bring up 2nd down and 5.
I'll bring up 2nd and 4 for Grant. Ball on the 35.
So head coach John Beck doing a nice job mixing up this offense. 2 receivers at the top going, drop back, left-hand side. This pass is complete. And that will be another Generals first down as Peter Zahari, the 6'1 senior, who found himself in the end zone in the first quarter, hauls that one in to pick up another big first down, as I imagine that's a very happy and smiling father, if I were to say so myself.
First down at the 40-yard line.
With 5:30 to go here, as the Generals with the commanding lead, 17-0. As the young man going, will drop back. Pressure's got to get rid of it. Throws it downfield, and he'll just throw this one out of bounds. Good heads-up play there by the young man as the Gophers were bringing the pressure. You always got to be impressed when a young man like that sees that there's pressure coming from his backside, and rather than try to force an ill-advised pass, he does the right thing and the smart thing and throws that ball out of bounds, as opposed to trying to force something where the potential consequence can add a lot of frustration to John Beck.
2nd and 10 for Grant, ball on the 40.
2nd down and 10, ball on the Generals' 40-yard line. As Goings will send 3 receivers to the bottom, trips to the bottom. Going in the gun, shows fake pressure, and he will be brought down. No, he gets rid of it. And another heads-up play there. Rather than take the sack, just throws the ball to the nearest receiver, and that will bring up a 3rd down and 10. So the Gophers doing a nice job bringing pressure this series. That pressure continues to come off the backside of Going.
Ball on their own 40.
3rd down and 10, 4:38 to go here in the 3rd. We're here at the Marshall campus for the first game of the 2019 season. As Going rolls out, pressure again, throws the ball downfield, and this one is tipped and almost intercepted there. As Jacob Dowden knocks that one down, and that will send out the punting unit for the Generals. This is the 2nd punt of the game. The Generals had a bit of a difficult snap in the first half, but hopefully they were able to communicate better here, and hopefully it's a different outcome as John Beck looks at a 4th and 10, and he'll send out his punt team. Dowden deep. This time good snap, good punt. And this will take a lob wedge bounce, and now it'll take a Generals bounce. And so the Gophers will have the ball at their own 30-yard line. We'll take a quick timeout, but when we come back, Gophers will have the ball at their own 30. You're watching live coverage of Grand Football powered by Tabor Rock.
Let's go! At US Cellular, we heard you. You want a wireless plan that works for you. That's why we're giving you unlimited data for just $30 on a network ranked #1 in network quality performance. All that and no hidden fees. That's the best value in wireless. That work for you? US Cellular. Choose fair.
For the best deals in wireless on a network that works in the middle of anywhere, visit Siskiyou Cellular, your local US Cellular agent. 7 locations.
17-0, 4:14 to go here in the 3rd period. As John Beck has got his team with a commanding lead, as the Gophers are looking to get on the board there, but they're unable to capitalize on that one, as that pass was intended for Ethan Hempstead, the 5'9 junior, and he's kind of been the go-to guy for most of this contest, but the Generals have done a nice job minimizing him to make big plays. The Gophers continue to run that traditional type of offense with I-backs and quarterback under center. It's something you don't see a whole lot anymore, as the run-pass option has seemed to overtake in the traditional under center, as Reagan gives it off to his running back in the backfield in the blue and black right there to knock that one down.
Third down, Gophers.
Ethan Hempstead, the ball carrier, and he picks up about 3 yards. And that'll bring up another third down and 7. Now Reagan will go into the gun. Bunch formation, top and bottom. Reagan drops back. Penalty flag. Ball on the ground. And this one will be recovered by the Gophers. We'll check the penalty flag here. Either it's an offsides or illegal formation. And it'll be a false start, and that will decline the penalty. And so the Gophers will now look at a 4th and 7. And I anticipate that'll bring out the punt team after the defensive stop there by the Grant Generals. .3:17 to go here in the third. Tamon Davis, 5'11 junior, stands at his own 40-yard line. And this time it's another good punt. Penalty flag. Davis to the middle, now to the near side. Breaks one tackle, scampers, and gets all the way down to the Gophers' 38-yard line, and that's where they will take command. We'll check the penalty flag. But I can anticipate that John Beck is not pleased with the penalties that have just hamstringed the Generals here, especially on the special teams. It seems to be the Achilles heel for them. So as the officials come together to talk this one over, so penalty committed there against the Generals, so that will back them up after an excellent return there by Mr. Davis. That will negate the return. And I believe with that penalty, the Gophers now will retain a first down. So the penalty there
It'll be 1st and 10.
will now bring the Gophers offense back out onto the field. I didn't see what the penalty was there. But in any event, as mentioned before, the penalties have seemed to hamstring the Generals here, especially on special teams. So the Gophers will regain possession at their own 43-yard line. Ibex give it off to his man Homestead, and he will march his way to about the initial line of scrimmage. I've been extremely impressed with the tenacity and the pad level of the defense for the Generals.
Short gain.
A lot of dives, counters, leads, toss pitches. But the Generals have done an excellent job sniffing out a lot of those plays. And that's a good sign here early in the season.
Ball on the 44.
As Michael Reagan will go into the gun. And he'll send a man in motion. Fake the give, sets up the screen. And the Generals are right there once again. And that pass will be incomplete as the side judge comes running in to inform the blue and black and the silver and white that pass was incomplete. 1:30 to go here in the third period. 17-0. Your Grant Generals on top.
3rd down.
These two teams tangled last year out at Gresham High School, where that final score was 17-7. Well, this game is shaping up to be quite similar, as the Gophers will go back into the gun. Trips at the bottom. Reagan drop back, throws the ball downfield looking for his man, and just off the fingertips, as his intended receiver was Ethan Evans, the 6'4 junior down the right-hand side. Good coverage there by the Generals.
4th down, Gresham.
As that'll bring up a 4th down for the Gophers. And that'll send out Mr. Davis, who had an excellent return the series before, but an ill-advised penalty sent the Gophers back out onto the playing surface on the offensive end. And so This time, Mr. Davis has another opportunity to return, and again, penalty flags fly. And as I take a look down there at head coach John Beck, he is nothing but frustrated with his ball squad here, because that is not like your disciplined type football teams that we're used to seeing with the Generals.
Penalties against Gresham for a false start. 5-yard penalty. Replay, 4th down.
However, this time the penalty was committed against the Gophers, as it was a false start. So that will back the Gophers up 5 yards. So now make it 4th down and 14.
It's a punt for Gresham. Davis back deep, ready to receive.
As Mr. Davis now stands at his own 35-yard line, and nothing would make that young man more happy as if he could find his way to the end zone here on special teams. And this one is nearly blocked, and it'll take a Gophers bounce and go out of bounds at the 30-yard line, and that's where the Generals will take over. We'll take a quick timeout. We come back. Generals will have the ball at their own 30. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us.
Welcome back to Marshall High School. As Goings trying to add to his team's point total, as Mr. Beck tells his quarterback to come out throwing on that one. Unfortunately, it is incomplete. And that'll bring up a 2nd down and 10.
Under coverage for Gresham. 2nd down.
2nd down and 10 for the Generals is going into the gun. Receiver to the left of his hip. 2 receivers at the top, 2 at the bottom. And he will give it this time. And the silver and white sniff that one out nicely. And the Generals will lose probably about a yard, maybe 2. And that'll bring up another 3rd down and a long 10. So after 5 possessions and 17 points in the first half,
3rd down, Generals.
The Generals have had a bit of a challenge here in the second half, trying to add points to the scoreboard. As they look at a 3rd down, a long 12. Trips at the bottom, Goings in the gun. Gophers showing blitz. And they will come. Pressure from the backside. Goings looking downfield, and this one is complete as he gets it down to his man Zahardi. And that is going to be close to a 1st down. So an excellent read. Mr. Goings feels the pressure from the backside, and he connects with Zahardi, the big tight end, and he has found that young man a couple times in this contest. It's a bit of a Tom Brady to Gronkowski connection.
That is the end of the 3rd.
As that will end the 3rd quarter. As your Grant Generals on top 17-0. They're 12 minutes away from going 1-0 to start the season. You're watching live coverage of Grant football powered by Tabor Rock Sports.
Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution.
as we start the fourth quarter here at the Marshall campus with the Generals with a 17-point lead. As Jaden Moses, a 5'11 freshman, getting a touch there. And with the nice run off the right tackle.
Tackled at the 49-yard line.
And that'll get the Generals just about to midfield.
Second down and 5 for Grant.
Second down and 5 for Mr. Goings. Trips at the bottom, 1 at the top. Back to his left. Goings drop back, looks, and he's going to have this one intercepted. And this one's going to go all the way back to the house here. Dylan Elgin picks that one off, and he'll take that one all the way for the score.
Logan Goings' pass is intercepted.
And the first touchdown on the board for the Gophers comes after a Mr. Goings interception there. And all of a sudden, the Gophers saying, we're not going away quite yet. And they're a field goal away to putting 7 points on the board. Good football play there by Dylan Elgin, the 5'9 junior. Sniffed that one out, and he took full advantage of it, and he scampered his way all the way down to the goal line to put 6 points on the board for the Gophers. And the Gophers are going to take a timeout, and they're going to chat this one over after the pick 6 there by Mr. Elgin. We'll take the quick timeout as well.
Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution.
The extra point attempt is no good.
After the pick 6 there by the Gophers, they're unable to add a 7th point to the board, so that's where we will leave it. 17-6, as Mr. Goings had played a pretty much a flawless football game up until then, but unfortunately he did not see Mr. Dylan Elgin as he stepped in front of the receiver and took full advantage of it and scampered his way down to the goal line. As the Generals still with a nice lead, 17-6, 11-13 to go here in the fourth period. Last year when these two teams played, the score ended with a 17-7 score. So not too far off of what they experienced last year, but I'm sure Mr. Goings would like to have that pass back, and he'll learn from it. We'll go back and watch the film, and he'll see that those guys that are sitting on the outsides like to sneak their way up, and trying to force something sometimes doesn't always end in a positive result. But a positive result for the Gophers as they get on the board for the first time here in the fourth period. As the Gophers need to get a quick 3 and out, and they need to get points back on the board pretty quickly if they're going to put themselves in a position to win this football game, as they will go with an onside kick, and the ball will be kicked just about to midfield. I don't know if the ball went far enough. The ball has to be touched by a receiving team. But I don't believe that he kicked it 10 yards before that ball can be touched by the kicking team, as the officiating crew will come together. But head coach Mike Melton said, generally we don't have much of a choice. Either it's a quick 3 and out, or we get this onside kick to put our team back in a possible position to win this football game. So as the committee of officials come together to talk this one over, we'll see what the White Hat has to say. And yes, the ball did not go 10 yards. And that will result in a first down and 10, I believe. But in this situation here, the Gophers will re-kick this one. Now the ball has to go generally about 20 yards, so a much more difficult onside kick here, as that ball will have to find its way for a good 20 yards. However, I anticipate
following the penalty,
a deep kick on this one. If not,
Gresham to re-kick from their own 25-yard
the
line.
Generals will have excellent field position. But we'll see here what head coach Mike Melton has up his sleeve on this attempt. And they will show, and they will fake. And now they will line up as the big right footer, Tyler Jorgensen, will kick this one off at his own 25-yard line. And this time it's a good boot as Mr. Davis will retrieve this one to the near side. Got blockers down the sideline, makes a move, and he will be taken down at the 44-yard line. And that's where Mr. Goings will start out as the prior possession. The ball found the hands of the wrong color. And the Gophers capitalize as Sir Dylan Elgin took that one all the way down the left-hand side, all the way into the end zone. And that's how we found ourselves with a 17-6 score. 11:03 to go here in the fourth. Goings in the gun. Two receivers at the top, two at the bottom. Continue to be the traditional form here for John Beck. Goings drops back, throws the ball downfield, and this one is almost intercepted again. So good coverage there by the Gophers as Samuel Igabagawam doing a nice job deflecting that pass. As that'll bring a second down and 10 at the Generals' 43-yard line. Three receivers at the bottom, and he will give it to his man, the running back, and he's got some room. Has the speedster, Damian Dede Phillips. Scampers his way all the way down to the 35-yard line, but another penalty flag finds its way onto the playing surface. And I believe it's going to be an unsportsmanlike penalty committed against the Generals. And nothing gets head coach John Beck fuming more than irresponsible penalties such as an unsportsmanlike conduct, and that's what the penalty will be. And so after the great run there by Dede Phillips, that will negate the run, and that will then push the Generals back 15 yards. So Dede Phillips getting a chance to run around out there, but he will unfortunately not be able to have that run recorded in the stat book because the yellow piece of laundry negates that excellent run.
Following the penalty for Grant, it is first down.
So first down and a heck of a long ways. Two receivers at the top, two at the bottom. Mr. Davis in motion. He will give it back to Dede. Dede up the middle, breaks one tackle, spins off another, drives his feet forward, and he will pick up about 17 yards there.
So now we'll move the change for a Grant first down.
As Dede, a new little wrinkle there. Haven't said his name a whole lot this game, but getting his opportunity, and he has taken full advantage of it. Has two runs and about 30 yards. Unfortunately, one will only be recorded in the record book.
Ball on Gresham's 38-yard
But Mr. Phillips I imagine it's probably keep saying, feed the beast, give me the rock. As Davis will go in motion again to Dede up the middle. Jump step, left-hand side, and he will be brought down after a pickup of about 6. And that will continue to move the clock to downward, and I imagine that runs like that have got to put a nice smile on the face of John Beck and those big fellas up front. Getting a little bit of love. Nothing's more enjoyable for the big fellas up front when they can see their running back picking up significant yardage. Again, give it off to Dede, right-hand side. Now gets back to the middle of the field, and he will run into a plethora of silver and white. And he will pick up about 2, so that'll bring up about 3rd down and 3.
Edie Phillips, ball carrier on the play. Tackle made by the Gophers, number 31, Austin Pick.
As Austin Pick was the man that was tallied there for bringing down Dede.
3rd down, Generals.
As that'll bring up 3rd down and 3. So big possession here for the Gophers. If they want to put themselves back into this contest, this is a rather important 3rd down and 3. I imagine they're in 2-down territory, so it's probably a 2-play. As Goings will give it off to Dede, and he will be brought down in the backfield. So that'll bring up 4th down and about 5. So now John Beck's got a decision to make. You've got the leg of Marco Vlasco, who knocked down a 41-yarder in the first half. Or do you got a 4th down and 7, and do you leave your offense on the field? Or do you bring out the punting unit? And Coach Beck will leave his offense on the field as that clock continues to tick. As Going sends 3 to the top, fakes to Dede, looking for his man down the left-hand side. He's got him there, and it is incomplete as he was looking for Jackson Monfort, who was streaking down the left-hand side.
Goings pass incomplete, intended for Luke Borchert.
And that one was intended for Luke Borchert, who has had an excellent game thus far, but unfortunately that one slipped out of his hands as he ran an excellent seam route up the left-hand side, but unfortunately was unable to haul that one in. So a turnover on downs for the Generals, and the Gophers here have got to get some points on the board if they want to put themselves in a position
on their own 35-yard line
to win this football game. Reagan under center, 3-step drop, pressure, and that one was knocked down at the line of scrimmage as he had to get rid of that one. As Devasier Stigler bringing the heat up the middle there, and he knocked that one down. Nice pressure there by the Generals. Next week, the Grant Generals will take on the Newburgh Cubs right here at Marshall campus. You can catch all the action here on Table Rock Sports. Pre-game show 6:45, kickoff 7 o'clock. The Gophers take on Aloha back at home. And after a fumble there, the Gophers pounce on that one. It could have been a much more difficult hole than they were in. Now they find themselves in an extremely difficult hole as they have a 3rd down and about 30. So I don't know how big the playbook is for head coach Mike Melton on a 3rd down and 30, but I imagine it's not very big. Gophers looking down the barrel of the gun. 3rd on their own 15-yard line. As they will give it up the middle, and the Generals have done an excellent job in this football game to sniff out those runs up the middle. I've been extremely impressed with the tenacity and really the athleticism of this Generals football team. But they got a lot of playmakers out there. Every time you think you got one guy who's your go-to, all of a sudden another one pops his head up I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the young man, D.D. Phillips, the 5'9 junior, out there making the most of his opportunities. And that will force the Gophers to have to punt, and this punt this time is not an ideal. And that one will go out of bounds in the Gophers' own territory at the 45-yard line. And that's where Mr. Goings and company will take over. 6:09 to go here in the fourth period, as John Beck is 6 minutes away from getting his first win to kick off the 2019 season. As it's been a excellent offensive showdown in the first half, but not a whole lot of electricity here in the second half. So some halftime adjustments were made there by the Gophers, but you certainly can't be disappointed with the defensive effort by the Generals, as the offense of the Gophers have been unable to cross the goal line. The only touchdown came on an interception for 6 points at the start of the fourth period, as Goings will give it off to his running back once again, as D.D. Phillips will be brought down after a pick of about 2, but unfortunately a yellow hanky finds its way out there onto the field, and we'll see what the Whitehead has to say here. And a holding there on the Generals.
First and long, Generals.
Second down and forever for the Generals. Second down and 20. As Goings will send 2 receivers to the top. Tight end Davis in motion. And he will give it off to Dede. Dede scampers down the left-hand side, and he will pick up about 5. And that'll bring up a third and a very long 15.
Now bring up second down for Grant.
As Dede doing a nice job staying in bounds, as that clock continues to tick down to 5:15 to go here in the fourth. So after some fireworks in the first half for the Generals, it's been a little bit quiet here in the second half. The Generals have had their opportunities, but certainly can't seem to take advantage of such. As Goings in the gun, and again, penalty flag on the play, and I anticipate this is probably a false start.
Dead ball, false start.
And that's what it will be. So
5-yard penalty.
I anticipate John Beck's going to have a conversation with his squad come Sunday and Monday to say, gentlemen, we got to minimize our penalties. We're going to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Second and 20 for Grant.
If we continue to commit these penalties, and John Beck has always been a man of saying minimize penalties and play disciplined football, but those types of penalties certainly kill drives. As they look again at a second down and 20 with 4:37 to go here. 2 receivers at the bottom. Goings in the gun. Drops back, looks, ball downfield, and it is incomplete and through the hands of Timon Davis, as he was right there, but unable to haul that one in. So that'll bring up a third down and 20.
For the Gophers, under coverage. Third down, Grant. Third and 20 for the Generals, ball on the 49-yard line.
Other games around the state today. Jesuit invites Mountainside in there. Tualatin welcomes in Lake Ridge. The Lava Bears making the trip up Highway 97 to take on Barlow out of the Mount Hood Conference.
Timeout on the field.
Battle of the West Side. The Glencoe.
That is their first timeout of the second half.
Glencoe Tide welcome in their rival Hill High. South Medford makes the long trip up north from Southern Oregon as they take on Centennial, who's also in the Mount Hood Conference. Sherwood travels to Sandy. The Sprague Olympians trap it up against Liberty. And Sheldon High School traveling across the Glen Jackson Bridge to play Graham Capuswin High School from Washington. So the Irish from Eugene making a trip across the border up into the 206 to take on Graham High School. Action next week, 6:45 pregame show, 7 o'clock kick. Catch all the action here on Table Rock Sports. As Mr. Going is looking at a 3rd down and 20. As he will drop back, scour the field, pressure. Finds his man Dede, set up for the screen, breaks 1 tackle, but is unable to break a 2nd tackle. And he will get back to the
4th down, Grant.
Back to the line of scrimmage, and so that'll bring up a 4th down and 20, and this will send out the punting unit for the Generals. 4:03 to go here in the 4th period. I'd anticipate that the Generals in a good position to go to 1-0. In conference, on the year.
Down on the return.
As another penalty flag flies.
Penalty marker on the field.
And this time it's going to be offside on the Gophers.
Penalty is against Gresham. For offsides. That'll be a 5-yard penalty assessed to replay 4th down.
So 4th down and 15, and John Beck will keep the punting unit out on the playing surface. As this time a good snap, great punt. Excellent punt, and this one will roll all the way down to the 3-yard line. And that's where the Gophers will take over after the great punt there by Max Von Arts. The big right footer positions that ball well at the 3-yard line. That's an excellent weapon. Not only is the punting unit very strong, but also Marco Vlasco, the excellent field goal kicker, doing a nice job in this contest as well. As the Gophers are looking about 98 yards.
Ball at the 2-yard line.
So the Gophers pinned deep in their own end zone. One receiver at the top, double tight, and he will give it to his man up the middle. And the Generals doing a nice job sniffing that one out as that clock continues to run.
Austin picked the carry for Gresham. Gain of 2.
Second 2:43 to go here in the 4th period. 4th period as John Beck is looking at getting his team to 1-0 on the year. As Reagan will give it off to his running back again, and the Generals doing a nice job sniffing that one out. And that'll bring up a 3rd down and 8.
Austin picked the carry for the Gophers.
Or the silver and white.
Short gain on the play, 3rd and 5, Gresham.
Following this contest here, we'll see if we can find a coach for the Generals to provide some insight for that football game. So we'll do our very best to see if we can achieve that feat. I'm sure we could probably try to get a coach to join us up here following. Timeout on the field here. Gophers are going to take a timeout. We'll take one more timeout
Of the second half.
as the Generals are 148 away from going 1-0 on the year. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution.
.148 to go here in the fourth period. The Generals are minutes away from going 1-0 as the Gophers pull out a bit of trickery there on the reverse. But the Generals doing a nice job being disciplined, staying home. And that'll bring up a fourth down as we have an injured Generals player on the field. As I believe that's Mr. Davis. And it's certainly not one that you want to see wincing in pain. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, the Generals will gain possession.
Let's go! At US Cellular, we heard you. You want a wireless plan that works for you. That's why we're giving you unlimited data for just $30 on a network ranked #1 in network quality performance. All that and no hidden fees. That's the best value in wireless. That work for you?
First down and 10 here for the Gophers. As Mr. Reagan was looking for his receiver on that one, Quentin Clark. Second down and 6, 1:27 to go here in the fourth. Solid performance here by the Generals. Certainly not a flawless game by any means, as penalties have seemed to be the nemesis for the young men out there. But John Beck, I'm sure, will have a nice, friendly conversation with this team. As Reagan looking for his big man downfield as he was looking for Ethan Evans. But Dede was right there to disrupt
Reagan's pass is incomplete,
the coverage.
intended for the tight end, Ethan Evans for Gresham. Third down.
Third down and 10, 1:21 to go here. The Generals are 91 seconds away from beating the Gophers for the second time in 2 years. Generals beat them last year 17-7. So similar score here this year. As Reagan will drop back looking for his man downfield, and this one is incomplete. Penalty flag flies.
Reagan's pass incomplete, intended for Clark.
So we'll check the penalty flag here as the white cap I don't know if I saw it. So fourth down and 10, that'll force the Gophers to have to punt once again. And this time, another excellent punt there by the Gophers, and this ball will take a Gophers bounce as Mike Hughes will stand at midfield, and that ball will be down at the Generals' 43-yard line. 1:05 to go.
Grant territory, first and 10
for head coach John Beck, who will go to 1-0 on the year. And certainly some things that the Generals will want to work on anytime you have that many penalties against a good football team. Those penalties can certainly kill you. So some things to clean up, but you learn a lot between your first and your second football game, as the cliche goes. So often you learn a lot about your football team between first and second weeks. He has the most favorite formation in football, the victory formation. As Mr. Goings will take a knee, and that will bring us under 1 minute. And I anticipate that'll be the last play of the football game. So as Mr. Goings puts his team in the iconic V formation, victory formation, and that'll be the last play of the game, as the clock will tick down from 17 seconds down to 0. And the Generals will make their way on the field to shake hands with the silver and white as we hit 7 seconds, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, and that will do it.
And
as the Grant Generals will go to 1-0. Head coach John Beck gets his 6th win of his 2-year stint here at Grant High School. Much more fireworks in the first half. Not as many fireworks there in the second half, but a win's a win, and you'll take it when you can. We'll take a quick timeout, provide our thoughts post-game, potentially maybe get a coach to get his thoughts as well. But in any event, the Generals get their first win of the year. The Gophers will go to 0-1. The Generals will go to 1-0. You've been watching live coverage of Grant General football powered by Table Rock Sports. We'll be back in 60 seconds.
Hello, I'm Lennox Scott, Chairman and CEO of John O. Scott Real Estate. In 1931, my grandfather started John O. Scott Real Estate. I would like to take a moment to thank you for your trust in allowing us to serve your real estate needs. Helping you realize your home ownership dreams is why we do what we do. But one thing is clear, it takes place one client at a time, each individual buyer or seller, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. The past few years have been an incredible time of growth for us. We now have over 110 offices and more than 3,000 broker associates in the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and California. But our higher purpose is living life as a contribution.
Your final score, 17-6. His head coach, John Beck, will get his 6th win in his 2nd year with the Generals. The Generals will go to 1-0 on the season as they showed some fireworks in the first half, but a little bit quieter in the second half. Did an excellent job on defense. The only touchdown for the Gophers came on a pick 6 in the start of the 4th period. But other than that, a pretty well-balanced football game. Other than the penalties seemed to be the frustration there for John Beck, but I anticipate that they will get those cleaned up. I don't believe that we're going to have an opportunity to talk with the coach for the Generals as they make their way to the locker room. But other than that, so glad you could be a part of this broadcast here. Next Friday night, the Generals will be taking on Newburgh right here. Pre-game show 6:45, kickoff 7 o'clock. So for Brody, the man behind the lens down there, doing a great job. You're my man down there. Great job staying out there in the cold here. I've been pleasure being a part of this broadcast with you. Your final score here from Marshall campus. The Generals go to 1-0, 17-6. I'm Brian Gregg. God bless you all, and God bless from Marshall High School. Good night.